Hi, my name is Justin Downing, and this is a brief presentation on data in use, data at rest, and data in transmission. This is referring to the three potential states that data stored electronically on our computer systems can be in. As cybersecurity professionals, it's important for us to differentiate between these states because the way we provide security for one may not necessarily be the same as security for the others. The first one is data at rest. This is data not currently being used. It's data stored on a hard drive or possibly data stored on a network server. Securing this data at rest first starts with having correctly configured and up-to-date firewalls and antivirus software to keep unwanted malware, Trojan horses, or other viruses off our computer that could be snooping around. Next, we can encrypt the files and folders, or we can encrypt the entire hard drive itself to make sure that if any of this information does end up in the wrong hands, they won't be able to make sense of it. Finally, we want to limit access to this data to only the users that need it to access the data. Data in use is data actively being used by a user or a system. Data in use is difficult to secure because by definition it requires accessibility to be used by the users that were authorized to use it. This makes it highly susceptible to attack. Securing data in use again starts with limiting access to the data to make sure those people that don't need to be using or accessing the data cannot. We also want to authenticate users to make sure the people accessing the data are who they say they are. Just like before, having up-to-date antivirus software can help keep unwanted malware from snooping around. And specifically on securing data in use, we want to be constantly monitoring our system for potential attacks. It's much harder to keep an attacker from accessing this data in use once they're in the system. So we want to be checking those logs and just monitoring for attacks. Finally, data in transmission. Just like the name suggests, this is data in transit between devices. This can be data moving over a local area network, or it could be much larger data moving over a wide area network, between local area networks, or the internet itself. Securing data in transmission. First, we can talk about securing the actual connection with protocols such as SSL and TSL, which provide us that secure encrypted tunnel between sender and receiver. Next, you want to think about securing the data itself and ensuring that both sides can access it with symmetric and asymmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption referring to both parties having the same key, both to decrypt and encrypt the message, and asymmetric encryption using both a public key and a private key in which to do the encryption. Public key infrastructure is a popular form of asymmetric encryption, which helps validate users, ensuring that the data is coming from where it's supposed to be. Also, we can use proper hashing algorithms to secure transit of passwords, and finally being able to check the logs and make sure that the data hasn't been interfered with in transit. So basically that's all. Thank you for listening to my presentation.